Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Scarred Thumb Podcast. Hey, how's it going? It's Jack in the chat, X Runner. Good to see you guys. We'll be starting off today. We are going to be talking about Gacha, but I figured I'll do something a little different and talk about the news first, and then we'll get to it at the back half of the broadcast. So let's start up right into it. This was a little video. This was a game that I was pretty excited for last year. Like cool anime aesthetic here. Really like cool cell shaded graphics. Exciting MMO, Blue Protocol. Whoa, save the world. Wow, pretty cool. Oh, what? Is there something after it? Some sort of exciting teaser? Is it literally just black screen? What the hell? Who made this? Who made this shit? Well, anyway, it looks like it might be dead.
Hey guys, it's me, Yuri Gamer here. So many of you actually comment.
Don't what are you doing? Why is autoplay on? All right. So Bandai Namco online faces insolvency post Blue Protocol launch. Seems like it's not so easy to make an MMO nowadays. Publisher's licensed MMO studio was already losing money, and 23's launch of Blue Protocol may have exacerbated the team's issues. This is from a game developer by Justin Carter. Online game focused subsidiary at Bandai Namco, which makes like hits like Elden Ring. Obviously, I believe they own From Software, or at least published their games. During the posted a loss of $51.35 million. So this is they specialize in stuff like Gundam Evolution, which went online in later 2000, and they've been working on Blue Protocol. Seems like they're not doing well, though. This was released in Japan, and it was kind of expecting a international release at some point, which I was looking forward to. I tried to get in the beta. It's supposed to be published by Amazon Games here. It opened at 600,000 players, which is pretty good. But the game present has diminished in a full year since launch, and it doesn't seem like it's been doing well, or at least not making enough money to keep the studio afloat. So there is a very real chance that Blue Protocol will never make it out of Japan, and we will not be seeing it in an international release, which is, I guess, maybe disappointing. I don't know. Maybe Japan just maybe it's not good enough to get out of Japan. Maybe it's not worth playing. The game, I was watching like one video, and they said like the game did have a lot of issues with sort of difficulty and how they ramp it up. Unfortunately, I think it has a lot of problems, and we might kind of discuss. I don't know if it kind of leads into the gacha game situation, but there's a lot of like they do share similar some similar practices. I think where it's like, oh, you got to log in daily. Well, I don't know if they specifically gate stuff like gacha games do, but they're all, a lot of them feel like they're really, they control the experience a little bit too much. I think with an MMO, the best parts are some of the freedom and like the player interactions, which I think they try to make that as limited as possible or controlled as possible in order to stop negative experiences. But let's move. We're gonna talk about Concord. I've already talked about this before, but there was some interesting news in here about a few things. This is from Video Game News, VGC. First look, Concord is breaking new ground in how live service games tell stories. So there's a reason for the tepid reception. It came down to a few things. First, and this is kind of talking about Concord made its debut, and it had a very mixed reaction, mostly because, it's like, oh, it's a Marvel. It's like the most derivative thing ever. It's like a Marvel-style writing, trailer into a 5v5 team shooter. So it's like, all right, so it's the movies from last year with the games from last year. Everything's just sort of the trends that have already been done to death. And then so they talk about the trailer. That moment is just a thin slice of everything. So they're kind of like doing damage control for Sony here. That moment is such a thin slice of everything being worked on for years and years. We're excited for the game and for the IP and to get the game in people's hands. And then they're just talking about, they do, they kind of try and polish the game up. I don't know if they do a great job. Like, I was watching some of the gameplay on this. It doesn't look that exciting, unfortunately, for them. And I think the characters themselves just really aren't exciting either. Everything about this game just seems so just so boring. It's like well done, but so unexciting that it's almost amazing that it has this much money behind it. So there's one thing I want to show this picture. Where was it? Here we go. This is one of the new guys that were showing off at their little like press thing. This is Daw. It's he, him. I mean, look at this. This is their character that they're making. Just like fat guy, boring, like smiling face, but apparently is like a healer. Like TF2, you had the medic, which had like a character to him, kind of like a weird, crazy scientist. This guy just looks like, I don't know, he's like a janitor with these clothes on. Like, here's my janitor suit. I'm gonna, clean a toilet for you at the elementary school. Make sure these toilets are clean before the kids get here. This is their character design. It's just amazingly bland, and this is like millions upon millions of dollars behind it. This is what they came up with. Hey, good morning, JBB. Good to see you. This is what really just shocks me about Concord. It's like, you get me. People can say, "Oh, pronouns, woke." This is just boring. Like, what is this? What is this guy? This is a character. This looks like an NPC. Honestly, this just doesn't have the playable character kind of look to it. Yeah, it does, and like it does have like very feminine features to it as well. Like Roadhog. I mean, you look at Roadhog. He's fat. He's a fat dude, but you look at him and then you're like, all right, this guy kind of cool. He's got, he's fat, but at least he looks like he's like, he's a biker. He could, looks like he might be able to kill somebody. He's kind of like got a style to him, like a fat biker dude. That's kind of a trope. Tropes aren't, bad necessarily. They can like help us understand like who this guy is at a glance. Meanwhile, this guy, like, who is he? He doesn't look like anybody. This guy stands out at least. He's fat, but like a cool way. As cool as, fat people could be. Like a tough, like strong. Don't mess with this guy. He's going to mess you up. This guy does not look like he's going to mess you up at all. You would never be afraid of this guy if you sat next to him. Yeah, you probably wouldn't notice this guy if you sat next to him, like in a bus or met him in like a CVS. He'd probably be behind the counter. But there, let's continue on in Concord. This article was the only thing was like towards the end, which PC Gamer, because then all these companies, it's Sony, it's a Sony game. They invited them to the studio to try it out and play it. There's a ton of nepotism, or not nepotism, but the video games journalism does its best to keep people that they know happy. He deserves 2 seats. Exactly. He needs that entire bench to himself. But they spend the whole article like talking about it, just giving them free press or like good press. But at the very last paragraph, he actually has to like be fair, I guess. And this is one thing about Concord that hasn't clicked for me are the characters' personalities. Developers emphasize that despite their fantastical sci-fi backgrounds, these are just regular people. A bit too regular. And this is like, he hit the nail on the head. A bit too regular, maybe. It's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but instead of neurotic eccentricities, we have a guy who likes hot sauce and a sentient robot who developed normal personalities. Firewalk plans to produce weekly cutscenes and characters evolve so we could see where it goes, but I sure hope that the feverish fandom developed around the cast of Space Misfits, who actually seem pretty well adjusted, in part to fuel spend on cosmetics. That's the other thing. They said the only monetization is going to be cosmetics for their game, which I mean is good game design, but it's like, holy, this is the guy you're going to buy cosmetics for? Like, what the hell? Their characters are so bland. Oh, I can get a Moo outfit for this fat dude. I don't know what, Kirby? Dress him up as Fat Inuyasha? Like, what cosmetics am I going to want to buy for this fat dude? Really, like, what the hell? It's probably going to be like some like tepid meme or something, like Big Boy or written on it or something. It's awful. But I think this guy really hits the nail on the head with the fact that like this is supposed to be like a group of like space mercenaries that do what they needed to do, and like everybody has like this super well-adjusted normal personality. Like this guy's quirk is he likes hot sauce. The chameleon dude. I don't know if you've probably seen the trailer if you've watched my other videos. I'm not going to go over it, but like, whoa, what a quirk, what a quirky guy. He likes hot sauce on his stuff. Crazy. And then like, this is the star child, the big guy in the back. You know what? He's awkward. He's about honor and like, oh, this is not an honorable death. Oh, that do not.
If you let go, I swear I will be.
Oh, look, there they are.
Oh, do not let me go. I will kill you. And then this robot, just like a normal guy robot. Crazy, super interesting. I can't wait to find out more about these guys. But hey, there's gazillions of dollars poured into this game. Money well spent, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll do well. Honestly, if Concord does well, I will be shocked. I will honestly be shocked. It'll be a marketing. Whoever marketed it will deserve a Pulitzer Prize or whatever prize marketers get, because it'll be amazing. Because with what they're working with, good luck. I just don't know. I just cannot see who the audience for this game is. Like hipsters that like boring 5v5 shooters? I don't know. What is this game? It just continues to be an oddity, and that's really, I don't particularly like or dislike it. I'm pretty neutral on it. It's to me, the most interesting part of Concord is like, who is it made for? But let's talk about a man that is interesting. A man that really saved video games, maybe. Maybe you could say that. Some people don't like him. Some people think he might be overrated, but Shigeru Miyamoto, to me, will always be the greatest of all time when it comes to game developers. So this was a Genki JP. One shareholder wants Shigeru Miyamoto to continue making games, but was concerned about him taking care of his health. Miyamoto thanked the shareholder for their concern and assured them that the handover to the younger generations is going smoothly, so that while he's involved, he doesn't do too much development work. Unfortunate. He said he is working comfortably at the company. He also said he is heavily involved in Pikmin Bloom. Pikmin Bloom's actually pretty boring. When I played, it was pretty boring. I don't know if it's gotten better since then, but okay, Miyamoto, good for you. Good for you. He's taking it easy, which is good. And this younger generation thing actually kind of concerns me. Like, what is the younger generation going to do? I mean, you've got like Sakurai, which is kind of developing. He seems still pretty young. He's developing Smash Brothers. He seems to be doing all right. So Toon guys are doing okay, though. You can kind of see some of the modern day proclivities in that game, and it makes me worried. It does make me worried. Where is it going to go? The way of the West, where they want to stick it more and more women into sort of leading roles and kind of forget, who video games are made for. But who knows? With it being a Japanese company, I'm hoping not. I'm hoping they'll be safe for at least for another generation. And this was actually kind of interesting. It said Miyamoto makes approximately 1.7 million yen a year at Nintendo. He's second only to the president, who makes 2.2 million a year. This that seems insane. I mean, I didn't confirm this, but so it could just be some idiot on Twitter talking nonsense. But I mean, it's not community noted. So, this is from a June 24 governance report. Other board members. This guy makes no fucking money. Like 1.7 million for Miyamoto, who's probably arguably the greatest game developer of all time. This guy made Mario, Donkey Kong, Legend of Zelda. I mean, Legend of Zelda, the Breath of the Wild made millions upon millions, like sold over 30 million copies. So this is crazy to me. Crazy that he makes this little money. I mean, this is, and I don't know if this is one of the things that Japan does that that America doesn't. Like, you see the CEOs of what people make it like. Well, actually, let me just take a look at what CEO of EA salary. So Electronic Arts CEO Wilson compensation increased 20% year on year over 25.6 billion for the fiscal year. So I see. So it's like base salary is only 1.3 million, but he's got stock awards that are over 20 million. And then incentive plan is 3.4 million, 500 million. So I don't know if Miyamoto's getting stock options. If he is, he's probably making a lot more than that, but it's crazy that his salary is so low. But maybe he is getting other compensation that isn't reported. Maybe not. But to me, that was just insane. The one of the greatest developers of all time making that little. But I mean, if they are getting stock options with Nintendo being Nintendo, that could be a lot of money that isn't in this report. That's so crazy. And this is another thing that I thought was interesting. More Nintendo news. We like Nintendo, right? I do. Miyamoto says Nintendo will be in good shape if they have one big hit every 3 to 5 years. Just as simple as that. Just make great games. That's Nintendo plan. Nintendo has multiple franchises under their belt. This is from GN Go Nintendo. That's their logo. By Raw Meat Cowboy. What a name. Nintendo has I think, is that Governor? Maybe that's Gov's sounds like maybe Gov's secret handle for Go Nintendo. Nintendo has multiple franchises under their belt. that has moved millions of units, resulting in literally billions of dollars. Company known to crank out titles and amass major support from fans, and Miyamoto thinks as long as they continue down this path, all be well for Nintendo. An interview between Shigeru Miyamoto and Earthbound creator Shigatsu Itoi, the two talked about the success of the game industry. As far as Nintendo goes, Miyamoto says as long as Nintendo has one big hit every 3 to 5 years, they'll be doing quite well. Going hand in hand with that, Miyamoto says that if Nintendo employees keep the big hit mentality in mind, it'll be smooth sailing for the big end. Itoi followed up with Miyamoto by asking just how big is a big hit? According to Miyamoto, a big hit is a game that moves more than 30 million or more units. If that's the case, which is home to 4 big hits, which is Mario Kart Deluxe, which just sells an insane amount of Animal Crossing New Horizons, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. While much talk is between two focusing on the game side, Miyamoto did say that focusing on making money and bringing in sales isn't the way to foster big hits. Both Itoi and Miyamoto agreed that focusing on corporate greed would steer the company in a wrong direction, killing off innovation and inspiration. Sure thing. As you pull out your 5th remake of the year. But anyway, not gonna say too much about that. But yeah, they do make good games. Nintendo makes good games, even though they do like here. We got Prime 4 coming out, which I'm sure will be good. I'll enjoy it. And then they've got like, oh, it's Donkey Kong Country HD. Here's the HD remake of this game. There's literally 3 Luigi's Mansion. Actually, Luigi Mansion 3 on Switch was a new game, but they just released Luigi Mansion 2. They've got the new Paper Mario remake. They have zero problems using their back catalog to make money as well. So I guess maybe that helps fuel the innovation inspiration. But hey, let's move. Let's another Nintendo news. This is a follow up from last year. Last week we talked about what are you doing, Kotaku? Just like some anti-ad shit. This is just a follow up from the Nintendo leaker drama. I'd say is like Nintendo is. They said following a recent reports that they were scraped from YouTube's back end ahead of major directs. And then, talk about the industry leaker, this guy who said, I didn't know they would include my response in their report. I guess, we've talked about, shut the fuck up as a superpower. Well, this guy should have kept his mouth shut. He might have got a guy fired saying that what he said about, the back leak. The back end theory is plausible. And maybe you just shouldn't talk, but, this is what leakers like, the attention. And unfortunately, so it looks like his thing is dried up, and Kotaku's just being, I guess, the ad blocker be out. But they said that they've really like beefed up with some material security firms. Nintendo acknowledges the reports that said company was looking outside security firms, new security members, and employee training to address issues around leaks. Of course, when you have a huge company, it's very hard to completely prevent it. But with this, with the new direct and having so many big announcements in it that weren't leaked, they might have at least shored that up for the time being. Oh, this was cool. This is more Nintendo. Oh, Nintendo news is always fun. This is a 1980s court document shows that Nintendo considered Kong Dong and Kong the Kong before selling on the name Donkey Kong. This is from PC Gamer by Rich Stanton. This just talks about there was a lawsuit in the early 1980s looking to get in the video game market. Sid Snyder saw Donkey Kong and thought, what, this is too much like King Kong. Let's sue Nintendo. But Nintendo, which was a much smaller company at the time, fought back and won. And this is a decisive victory. And Donkey Kong didn't infringe on Universal's copyright and remained Nintendo's character. But there was a gaming historian, Norman Caruso, on Twitter that sort of showed some scans of what potential names were. And their alternative names for Donkey Kong, which is Funny Kong. So they workshopped this a bit before they settled on the iconic Donkey Kong. Funny Kong, Kong the Kong, Jack Kong, Funky Kong, which of course became a character of its own, Bill Kong. That's an interesting. I guess Kong is also is a generic term for gorilla in Japan. Steel Kong, Giant Kong, Big Kong, Kong Down, Kong Dog, which is I think is a good name. Mr. Kong, Custom Kong, Kong Chase, Kong Boy, Kong Man, Kong Fighter, Wild Kong, Rookie Kong, Kong Holiday, and finally Donkey Kong. We could have a world where Kong Man was the name for it, but I don't know if it would have done quite as well. Or Kong Dong was actually a very good. I thought that would have worked too. Real stunner here. And Funky Kong, first introduced in Rare's Donkey Kong series, has roots going back to the 1980s. Funky Kong could have been the star of the entire franchise. Further tidbits, doodles, certificates, and the judge summations between the two gorillas. So it's actually really, really kind of cool. And of course, the win, of course, is kind of like video game tidbit here. John Joseph Kirby was the name of the lawyer that helped Nintendo beat Universal, and of course Kirby. They sort of memorialized John Joseph Kirby with the name, of course, the sort of pink, everyone's favorite pink puff from Nintendo, Kirby. That was actually named after him, which is actually pretty cool. Who I guess John Joseph Kirby has originally has passed away since that time. I think he might have. When did he pass away? 2019, and in 1994, where they named the character Kirby to honor him. Citation needed, so maybe it's like internet history, but kind of cool. Kind of a cool history of Nintendo. Oh, how's it going, Baron Gaslight? Good to see you. About to run some errands. All right. Right on. And then Sega. Sega sees a net loss of 6.6 billion yen due to business restructuring in Europe and canceled games. Sega's not doing well. So in the recent, financial report, profits fell by 86.7%. As the company posted a net loss of 6.65 billion yen, over 41 million. It's lost of significance. Series made the net profit. They had to sell, and they had been doing well as far as like Dragon Gaiden, Manager Race's name, Like a Dragon, Infant Well, Yakuza series, Sonic Superstars, Phantasy Star Online 2. I can't believe Phantasy Star Online is still going. Sega sales throughout the financial year, net sales decreased by only 2.6%, but the operating profits suffered a sharp decline as they did a structural reformation. They ended up selling off Relic Entertainment, who was made. I really like Relic back in the day. They made Dawn of War, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War, which was really a great real-time strategy game. But since then they have not been doing too well. I hated Dawn of War 2, but they're a studio that used to be very good. I don't know how they are now, but they end up selling them off. It's always interesting to see Relic Entertainment pop up here and there. So Sega, hopefully they'll recover from this, but along with a lot of places, they're suffering big losses as the economy has contracted. And this story, man. This is Twitter. This is this guy PJ Skittles finding out the current producer for Halo's hates guns to the point where it makes him uncomfortable to work with. Feels like it explains a lot about the franchise's current state, and this says a lot about video games' current state. So this didn't make this bigger at all. I honestly don't think I could work on a game that glorifies or fantasizes modern guns. COD, Battlefield, Rainbow. Is that Rainbow Six? I have had moments. I've struggled with Halo. but the weapons and the world is pretty sci-fi, which creates a larger separation from reality. Of course, this guy has a gay flag, a trans flag, and a Palestine flag. I mean, just all the mental illnesses here shown off for you. It's, if you want to know that he's a liberal activist, yeah, he's got it on full display. So the guy makes Halo. Is afraid of game. He's uncomfortable with a game that glorifies or fantasizes modern guns. This is why video games are not doing too well. The game's literally about violence. I'm shooting people with guns, and he's afraid of that. He struggles with that. That's amazing. Though I thought was actually really cool is somebody posted in the replies said, meanwhile, Bungie's a weapon designer for the Halo games, and this is from like an art book where he's talking about it. Part of the process of designing new weapons for use in the game is research. There are volumes of material printed concerning firearms and their function, but nothing beats practical experience. Definitely the highlight of working on Halo 2 was the trip we took to South Carolina. Artist Ropt Lee says, is that supposed to be Rob? I don't know. Never heard of Ropt as a name. We got to hang out with several members of the U.S. Special Forces. They demonstrated weapon handling and tactical movement. It was really fun, and they are great guys. And the best part was near the end of the day, I got a chance to fire a fully automatic sound-suppressed Heckler and Coach. I'm probably going to... It's an H&K. I don't know how to pronounce the whole name. Sorry, gun guys. MP5SD. But the weird thing was I didn't want to bullet hose a thing. Lieutenant Colonel Mark, our host, told me my shooting was, and I quote, awesome, very good shooting. That was great, just the highest praise. So this is like just a guy that's having fun doing research, enjoying shooting guns as part of like his research to make the guns more realistic in Halo. This is like the old style. This is the old style of game developer that I don't know. Have these guys been like forced out as companies get bigger? Like the guys that are just like nerds about stuff like this with like guns. Are these the first people to go when HR moves in and like women? They say something. Maybe they're not the best communicators, but. So they make an off-color comment and they get forced out, or they have like some marketing team tell them like, nah, this is like maybe, or like they have this guy tell them like, that gun's a little too realistic. We need to make it a little more fantasy. I'm a little uncomfortable with this shotgun. It's a little too realistic. And then he even talks about the sniper stuff. So just doing a lot of research and gushing over the weapons, just really enjoying the weapons. So this is the old guard that I don't know are they still there in video games? They don't seem to be showing up, but this is the guy that's sort of running Halo now, as a bunch of flags in his bio, and he feels uncomfortable with real guns, glorifying modern guns, in a game that's literally about shooting people, shooting other people with guns. It's war. It's literally about war. And this is the guy that's you chose to head your studio. Why wouldn't a CEO look at this and say wait, this is the guy we put in charge of Halo? We need to get him out. This isn't a red flag to anybody. This is what's happening to corporations now in video games. All the sweet babies in the world. You remove all of them, and you're still not going to change this. If this guy's still the head of Halo, you've got issues. Things aren't going to get better. That's for sure. But yeah, let's now it's time to move on to my presentation, guys. I tried to think of a way to I'm experimenting, all right? So this is my in the Harvard Business School with that attitude. I saw this video of this Asian kid that's oh, I got oh wait, I shouldn't do an Asian accent. I don't want to make, but like he's got like, you know, like a 1560 SAT like top of his thing, like he's trying about getting rejected from Harvard. Like, I feel like I disappointed my parents and myself by not getting into Harvard. But of course, you know, he normally would get into Harvard. He's just Asian, so they're not letting him in. So Harvard's got its own problems. Harvard Business School. I don't know. I guess they still got some credentials, but we'll see. But anyway, bear with me, guys. I'm going to. I have a slideshow. I have a slideshow for you guys. Let me see if that shows up. How that shows up in my. Oh, okay. That seems to show up even with my. Whatever it's called, border. So no good gacha. It's just, again, I'm just experimenting with certain presentation mediums. So if you know, let me know what you think. Give me your honest critique if you think the slideshow is too boring. But no good gacha game. So this is Zenless Zone Zero is coming out to next week. The Chinese decided to put release date on our holiday, 4th of July, Independence Day. It's Google Slides. It's kind of like PowerPoint. It's free PowerPoint. This is Zenless Zone Zero. So Genshin Impact has reached over $5 billion in U.S. spending. System stats: Wuthering Waves did $20 million in the first 10 days of release. Blue Archives earned over $167 million in 2023. Insane amounts of money. The thing is, all these games free to play. They don't charge you a single thing to download and start playing them. And all of them rely on a system called Gacha, which is a derivative from the term gachapon. This was the Japanese capsule machines. And it's essentially like that. It's like a capsule machine. You gamble and you try to get these premium high-level characters. So this is the issue why I think that there are no good gacha games. As enjoyable as they can be, they're fundamentally flawed. And the first issue is that they are free to play. And free to play, so there was a guy that said, like, gacha is just a monetization system. And I think that, that's technically true, but it's practically false, utterly false, because they all share similarities. And one is they're free to play. So their model is, when it's free, you're the product, exactly. So they all share these issues. And then, the first thing with free-to-play is the game has to be extremely accessible because they rely on getting the biggest audience possible. They need to reach the maximum amount of people they can, which could be good if you don't like exclusives, but it inevitably leads to the fact that they're phone games. I mean, first and foremost, like Azure Lane, Blue Archive, they're exclusively phone games. But even stuff like Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, they're all going to be available on the phone, which almost always means that they are really mechanically very shallow. Like, you need to be able to successfully beat the game using a phone, using the sort of like on-screen joystick, which is, if anyone's, as anyone knows, it's crap. There's no input, there's no tactile feel to it. It's almost always very, very plain. They got like limited controls and mechanics. You got to be able. You don't want to overwhelm the player right away. You want the casual fan to be able to play this. So you cannot, if you're free to play, you cannot go for a niche market with some really refined and challenging mechanics and controls. Azure Lane, Blue Archive, they're auto scrollers where you just sort of like, you can decide when to use abilities in Blue Archive, and you can kind of position a little bit, but they're not really intense. And to be honest with them, they're also phone games, just phone games. So the idea of like, all right, you play on your phone, you don't necessarily want to give your total attention to your phone while you're like walking or, riding a bus or, in a checkout line. So like that's to its credit. You don't necessarily want to be super involved on your phone. Genshin Wuthering Lily, they're also PC games and they kind of built like a normal game that can be played on a console or a PC, but their combat's always pretty limited by the fact that you cannot ask a lot of the players. Like you want a very casual player to be able to play the game and be successful. So asking them to like have really precise timing and it to be really tight controls just is too much to ask. It's going to hurt you financially. And then, the difficulty, like I said, it's early game is always ridiculously easy. Like piss easy, like you could just fall asleep and beat everything. Because they want you to sort of get into it very gently. And they almost always, like at some point, like, when you're like 10 to 20 hours in the game, they start spiking the difficulty up in endgame itself. Ends up being extremely, like, to clear the most or the hardest content in it, you have to put in a ton of money with, a ton of characters. So they want to get invested into it. And this is the second thing is the other thing, like the other issue they have like free to play is limited resources. They specifically limit just how much you can play and how much you can get in the game. So everything has a stamina system. I've never played an FPS on the phone and I never tried. I've seen people play Call of Duty on the phone. It seems pretty rough, to be honest. They always have a stamina system, which means basically you can only play a certain amount each day, or with like in the case of Genshin Impact and like Wuthering Waves, you can only do certain things a certain amount of times a day. Like there's certain like bosses and domains that give you a certain type of research. Well, the information I'm getting is basically from my own experience. So like the stamina system is basically just there to make sure you can't get all the resources you need to build a character quickly or like in a week or several days. Like you just can't continually play and build up these characters because they want you to come back each day. They want you to take like a month to max out your character. So now the limit play is again to form habits, so you keep coming back. And of course, they do have they usually have some sort of systems where you can buy extra stamina or extensions. If you like get like a battle pass or a season pass, you can usually end up playing more through that. So it sort of creates this sort of a natural play sessions where you're like you maybe play like 15 minutes a day. You do your daily grind and then you get off. It's really weird, just a weird way to play a video game. It's not like, all right, I've got some free time, I want to relax. Well, let me just play the game for a bit. It's always ends up being like, all right, I'm going to go grind my dailies in this game, and then I'm going to grind my dailies in that game, and then I'm just going to stop. And it has become like a job, which is just from a gameplay perspective, like sucks ass. Level up materials, like I said, you have to do short repetitive missions like domains, or in some case, you do these just short missions. In Blue Archive, they let you even like skip the animations of actually doing the mission, which is just shows you how boring they are. You don't even have to bother doing it. You don't like level up your character by playing the game, like by killing enemies, which I thought it was always such a strange mechanic for an RPG. You do it by collecting level up materials, which is again super bizarre. And this just encourages you to spend money and log in daily, and then it kind of gives you like a cheap sense of accomplishment when like, oh, I earned this material and I leveled up this character. And, they make sounds and the bars go up and it's very, very, kind of engineered dopamine releases. And then of course, the other thing is, and probably the biggest thing is the gacha. If you look at the top right, we have this is like a gacha banner for Blue Archive. Which has like a character like, oh, there's like the live 2D, like look at this beautiful, you can get this beautiful anime girl. You just gotta like spend like $200. gambling for. And this is their main source of revenue, which ultimately leads to like kind of like preying on the people. Like, I don't know if I want to use the word preying, because I think most of them are adults. They know what's happening, but they really engineer it to make you want to spend. They go all out. They go all out in trying to get you to get these banners. And that's, fear of missing out on limited banners. The banners themselves are limited. So, the premium characters, the 3-star, the 5-star characters, depending on which game it is, they're not just like a small percentage better, like a 5 or 10% increase versus, the normal characters that are easier to get. They're on different levels. There was a graphic I was looking at comparing Ganyu to let's see, I don't know if I have it. Comparing Ganyu to I might have gotten rid of Ganyu to Amber, and like it's like 100% difference. 100% to 200% more damage. It's just absolutely insane. And of course, even the premium characters have power creep, and it's so funny, like listening to people talk about Zenless Zone Zero, where like, oh, the first 5-star character banner, they're talking like, is she future proof? Is she going to get power creeped out? Because they already know, they've already played enough of these games to know that she will be at some point. She's the best right now, but like a year down the line, there's going to be another character that kind of does her role and has her element better than she will. It just always happens, and it's so funny to see. They know what's going on. So it's like, I don't want to call it predatory because they're opting into it, but for me, I think one of the worst parts about it is it kind of betrays the core aspect of like the team building, character collecting kind of mechanic that's underneath it. Like, these games are almost always about collecting characters and building teams, but fundamentally they decide like which characters are the best, and like just straight up the best. So it's engineered to be that way. So there's no like expectation for these developers to like make each character unique, for each character to have like a special role in the game. And if it happens, it's by accident. So if they want, like, they'll sell you on a character, and then maybe 1 year later it's obsolete, or they'll sell you on this character and they're just, because of their powers and their stats, they'll make these all like kind of like vignettes and movies about it, like, oh, this character is amazing, she's wonderful, and then like her stats end up being useless. They're just designed to be fodder. And then of course there's always people that are like, oh, this is a trap for your resources. It just doesn't. It's almost like the relationship between the player and the developer is almost antagonistic. It's kind of bizarre. And then of course it forces them to make the combat very stat based. I noticed this playing Wuthering Waves, and it so much of the damage ends up being on your gear and your stats. So execution becomes very, not, I wouldn't say obsolete, but very unimportant. So like how good you are at playing the game doesn't matter as much as whether or not you've collected the correct resources. So almost always the combat enemies become bullet sponges. And I do have like a, I can't really alt tab out of it, but we'll show that later. So it's like boring. Combat tends to be boring and easy for most of it, besides the highest level content, which they specifically make for you to have, all of their premium characters and weapons in order to pass. And then like they do this with like FPS checks, which is essentially like, they'll have like a chamber with, certain enemies that have a shitload of life. And if you don't have if your characters don't have enough damage, you can play it as well as you want. But because of the timer and the lack of like skill expression, you're not going to outskill the floor and pass it. Like maybe if you play really well, like a complete noob with like tons of money will probably pass it just as well as, you know, a total veteran with like 1,000 hours and less optimal gear. It's very much based on, do you have the right stuff to pass it? You know, it's stat based and very, you know, they have to control the character power because you have to make your premium characters better than your non-premium characters, or else people aren't going to want to buy it. You know, they don't sell. There is a certain player base that will just collect waifus. They just want to collect characters and own them all. But there's also a staple base of players that will want the most meta characters, want the best characters. They want to buy the power in order to, you know, beat the content in the game. You know, it's a flex for them. So they end up making enemies that just have insane amounts of life, and they're not fun to fight. And then the enemies tend to be very boring and generic, and they take a while to develop because most of the resources are going to developing characters that you need to sell. Like we got Shinano right here. Ultra rare. She used one of the first ultra rare ships. They used to have just like super rare, and then at some point, talking about power creep, they had to add an ultra rare rarity, which is even more rare in order to, I guess, you know, sell more stuff. And then, you know, I wanted to finish it up by talking about the good in gacha games, because I've played a lot of gacha games and I do enjoy them from time to time. But first I got to wet my whistle. So, I mean, if we look here, Skinner box mechanics, they're fun. I like dopamine. I don't know about you guys, but I do enjoy the occasional dopamine hit. Hey, Deborah, Nuke, how's it going, man? So they're pleasant to play and enjoyable. Like you get shining lights, flashing things like dwing, 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 bling, like bling, bling, wahoo. Like it's fun. It's fun to have that. You know, pachinko machines are pretty fun. You know, we all enjoy gambling, I think, innately, and that's one of the reasons why, or like most of us. That's essentially why they end up doing so well, and why they're so dangerous. So yeah, I like gambling, and of course, you know, at least with gacha, like I'm never like, oh man, I can make my money back. Like I know I'm just literally throwing my money into a fucking well, and it's never coming back. I might get, you know, a cute waifu out of it, but at no point am I going to be richer for it. The art is impeccable. Like as we can see on the right hand side, players get what they want. You see, the games need to sell their characters to their core audience. That's how they make their money. So you're not going to get the character designs like Concord or, you know, gay dwarves like D&D, which, you know, completely rely on their established IP and name to sell to other players. The gacha space is extremely competitive, so they give their player base, and they know who their player base is because they tend to enjoy stuff like this. So they give you stuff like this. You're not going to see occasionally, you know, China will force them to censor some of their art, which is unfortunate, but you still end up getting some really nice character designs. And then, of course, you also get lots of new stuff. It comes out almost on a monthly basis, or even weekly in some cases. Like events tend to run like twice a month. So there's always something new content, new art. So it does tend to generate pretty quickly. And I enjoy that part of it, though it can actually kind of get overwhelming if you play it casually, where you have to constantly keep up with events. Character, you know, have good designs. Like I said, I usually like a lot of their character designs. I tend to be very nice to look at, very easy on the eyes. Music tends to be good. I've got, you know, a lot of kind of chill tones and music to it. Nice to listen to while you kind of like playing. Especially, I think Blue Archive does a really good job of having like just these like pleasant little tones going on in the background, kind of catchy. and they're overall fun and pleasant to play. If I look objectively at the game mechanics, I don't think they're good, but I think overall the overall experience of playing is nice if you enjoy it for what it is. So it's like the conclusion is like it's a guilty pleasure. There's no good gacha game because I think the mechanics generally are antagonistic to enjoying the game. They're kind of designed to like prey. I don't want to say prey, but they're to take advantage of like the way the human mind works. So you just enjoy them for what they are. They're not going to be a complex, deep, strategically. They're not going to like really push the limits of your mind, or really just blow you out of the water with how good it is. But they're phone games. Like Azure Lane and Blue Archive are phone games. They're meant to be like played 15 minutes a day, or while you're kind of waiting. So just don't get fooled into thinking that this is the height of video games. I'm not gonna. Of course, people can play whatever they want. I'm not going to say don't play these games. I play them. Nice, over 500 ships, and but I said like please, for people that play. If there's someone that's watching this that's only play gacha games, like please play some other stuff too. Like video games have so much more to offer than what gacha games will give you. As fun and enjoyable as they might be to play, please play some other games too. And that's the end of this great gacha presentation. This was wait, where's that video I had? What the heck? I thought I had a video prepared of. This is just sort of like Azure Lane, showing like the mechanics aren't complicated. No, let me prepare this here. I could have swore I did, but maybe I didn't. Oh, this is Wuthering Waves boss fight. Here we go. Here we go. This is just like you're looking at this like 8 damage, like 240 damage. You can see just how slowly this guy's life bar goes down while I'm fighting him. Of course, don't have like optimized gear for it, the absolute top tier stuff. But you look at just how much these characters are bullet sponges, and this is the same with like any gacha game boss fight. You got to make yourself feel like it's something. But a lot of it's just flashy stuff with numbers flying out and light shows. It's very shallow. I guess would be the best word for it. But again, it's can be fun too. It could be fun just to like click buttons and enjoy the health bars going down. The other thing is like I'm doing barely any damage to him, but if you look, he is doing almost no damage to me too, and that's kind of the annoying fight. It's not like he's like so much better than I am. He's doing no damage either. It's like we're doing no damage to each other. So it just ends up being like this long, drawn-out fight where I'm in zero danger of dying, and I just have to sort of outlast him in a battle of attrition. There's no timer either on the story mode, so I just need to whittle him down eventually. I think this ends up going about 8 minutes on this boss fight, which it feels long, but 10 minutes for a boss fight doesn't seem that long. But just the way the combat works, it feels like it. That Zenless Zone Zero coming out July 4th. I'll probably play it and talk about it. I noticed that when you talk shit about gacha games, some of their fans really get bad. And JRPGs can be good. It's just usually with like a normal JRPG, the mechanics and like with like the strategy systems underneath are usually pretty complicated. But with a gacha game, these mechanics usually aren't. It's strictly about grinding. It's all designed to sort of get you to continue to play. So, and when you're building like a team for like a JRPG, you have the options are all available to you. It's not like, oh, I didn't play or I didn't spend enough during this month, so now I have to wait another year to have this, specific option open to me. Or I didn't, pull for this certain banner, so I don't have this certain weapon. You can get everything you need by playing the game. So it adds for a lot more complex strategy when you can have like all the pieces available to you to make it. And unfortunately with gacha games, they don't do that because they really can't. They need to sell the banners. So they specifically limit how and when you can get these characters. And then they'll make, content around having, these high level like premium characters. So because that's their whale, they're gonna make something for the whales to show off their characters and really give them value out of it, which I can't blame them. That's who makes them their money. That's it, and this was just it did take a long time to beat that boss. But this is just I like playing Monster Hunter now. That's another phone game with a ton of monetization in it. But it's not gacha. So, like, if you look at the comparison on the top, you have this is like the Kushaladora weapon, which is, you have to go to like a raid, essentially, if you want to do multiple within like 90 minutes, you have to pay extra money for. But at max level, this is only like 7% better. So that's the difference between like a gacha game and like a game that even like has a ton of monetization in it. Since they don't have to sell a character, they're perfectly fine with having the sort of premium weapon, the really hard to get weapon, is only 7% better. So you can clear any content you want with the regular like Lagania weapon that you can get. That's available at any time. You can grind it at any time you want, and then even goes down once you have maxed out armor. So if premium characters were like this, I would be fine with that. Like if your 5-star character was only 7% better, that'd be perfectly all right. But that doesn't sell copies of the character. That doesn't sell the banner. The gacha players and I could be fine with it being like 8% better, because then they couldn't just pass it through raw power. It require actual skill and knowledge of the game to be successful. Oh, reaching the final stage of Paper Mario. That's awesome. Sweet. You're about to finish it up. Are you going to do like the optional, like, isn't that like some sort of dungeon where you go like 100 floors? I can't remember which version that was in. Man, my throat's getting dry. And what was this? Oh, this is the numbers. Numbers of revenue for 2023. Genshin Impact, over $500 million. $500 million. Honkai Star Rail, almost $400 million. It's just insane. Uma Masume Pretty Derby, $350 million. Blue Archive, make about $130 million. And that's on the Japanese, and it made a little bit on the international. It's amazing to see, like, you see Blue Archive gets $130 million in Japan. And then internationally, let's see, where's Blue Archive? I think it's further down. And like the international version getting a 100,000 less. So Japan is really pushes a lot of these. I assume China, when it's available, really pushes these games over the line in terms of profitability. They like it. The Japanese love their stuff. I guess they do have pachinko parlors, so that's maybe the Japanese have a proclivity for enjoying gambling. But that's just me. But guys, that's going to be it for the program. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe if you want. Support the channel by memberships or whatnot. But I'm going to be redirecting to Post Zero. I won't be there today. I've got a party to attend, but it should be fun. They're talking about go where the fish are. So I guess I think fish is referring to women. So be sure to check that out. And I'll see you guys next Sunday. Goodbye for now.